Once upon a time, in the deep forest of Oromila, where the trees sing, leads a path to the most beautiful mountain view. Right below it is the village of Badore. The village of Badore is very peaceful. The women are beautiful, the children grow up sharp, and the men are hardworking. But the strange thing about Badore village is that it is a patriarch society. Once a woman is married, all she will ever be is a wife, a mother, and a homemaker. The Oba of Badore has 4 wives and 17 children. Women in Badore are forbidden to work. The women seemed unhappy about the situation but carried on with their roles, and no one speak up about this. Only the widows are allowed to work. The men are the providers, and as such, everyone maintains their role in Badore society. This tradition and way of life continued for decades until one beautiful day. The sun was shining bright, and a rainbow appeared at the end of the sky. The chief priest looked up and said, "A very strong and special girl is coming. The prophecy is real." His apprentice asked, "What prophecy?" The chief priest smiled and said, "The brightest among the women will rise and walk among men." The apprentice seemed confused but carried on with his duties. At this very moment, the Oba's youngest wife, Queen Ejide, just put to bed. She had the most adorable baby girl. Her skin glows and she has a very peculiar aura. The midwife bellowed, "These my old eyes have seen a lot during my days, but not this wonder. Ha! I have never seen a baby like this since all my years as a midwife." She continued, "Omolewa," meaning a child with beauty. The young queen smiled and said, "Omolewa suits her perfectly." Omolewa from a young age is very opinionated, although she is the king's favorite child. But the king sometimes shows concern on how outspoken Omolewa is. Most times, when Omolewa takes an interest in men's activities like tagging along with the princess to the hunting forest, they usually insist the woman is not allowed to engage in such activities, especially a princess as that. Badore has one of the strongest soldiers among the Yoruba kingdom. At the age of 10, oftentimes Omolewa has been caught sneaking into the soldiers' camp, mimicking their moves. Prince Bade, who is the sergeant of the battalion, once said, "Omolewa, why can't you be like the other girls in the village? Playing dress up, learning how to do house chores?" Omolewa responds, "Why? But why? Why can't I learn to defend myself or partake in the activities that I enjoy?" Prince Bade replied, "It is the tradition of Badore village, and it has been so for decades. Your husband will defend and protect you when the need arises." Omolewa replied, "But what if he's at work or traveling? What would happen then?" "Little sister, enough!" With the interrogation, replied Prince Bade. He called a guard to chaperone Omolewa back to the palace. Omolewa's mother and 2 guards were already in search of her. One of the guards sighted her coming. He uttered, "That's the princess coming, my queen." Queen Ejide said, "You, this girl, I have been worried sick. Where have you been? Go and join your sisters in the courtyard. The bidding class started a while ago. The king will be furious if he finds out that you've been sneaking off again." Omolewa nodded and walked into the court. Immediately her siblings noticed her approaching. They were excited, and one of them asked, "Omolewa, tell us about your adventure today." Omolewa informed them of how she snuck into the soldiers' camp unnoticed and that she has been able to learn the soldiers' combat trainings. They all laughed and she suggested, "I could teach you all, you know." The eldest princess, called Princess Adone, cautioned her, "Stop talking before the king finds out and could get us all in hot water." She added, "How many times do I have to remind you that Badore women are forbidden to be involved in men's business?" Omolewa made a face and started stringing her beads. 8 years later, Omolewa, now 18-year-old and matured enough for marriage, the king summoned her to his court. "Omolewa, my precious daughter," he said, "how happy I get whenever I see you. You have grown into such a beautiful woman, and you have exceeded my expectations in all the princess training. The time has come for you to get married and be your own woman." "My lord," she said, "I humbly decline. Father, I am not ready for my life to be over." The king gulped. "Excuse me, young lady. You will do as I say, first as your father, and secondly because I am your king." "Father, you don't understand," replied Omolewa. "Understand what? Omolewa, you want to be a maiden, eh? You want to be a maiden forever?" "No, but what? Spit it out, child. The king interrupted Omolewa. You see, father, I do want to get married someday to a man I'm in love with, but also be able to work and not be stuck in the house for eternity. God forbid something happens to my husband. How would I survive? My life shouldn't be over just because I got married. That to me is life imprisonment. Guards! Screamed the king. Go fetch the chief priest right away. My daughter has been possessed. The guards rushed out of the palace. Few moments later, the chief priest walked into the palace and he greeted the Oba. Long live the Oba, the king replied. Ashe, that's not why I called you here. Pull out your cowries and consult the Ifa oracle. I need to know the evil spirit that has possessed my daughter. I need you to cure her immediately. The chief priest replied, My lord, the princess isn't possessed. She is special. I received a prophecy before she was even conceived. Eledumare selected her specifically for a mission here in Badore. The king was bewildered by this revelation. He screamed, Why? Why was I not aware of this? Why? Why am I just hearing about this today? I should have your head for this. The chief priest answered, My king, I apologize. The same oracle made me forget. Tell me more, the king gesturing at him. The brightest among the women will rise and walk among men, said the chief priest. It is not clear on how she will go about her journey, but the oracle requires you support her. It is important that you yield to this warning, or famine and sickness will wipe out Badore village, concluded the chief priest. He took his leave and the king bid him farewell. The king was left more worried and confused. The following week, the town crier called the attention of the villagers. He announced, My fellow villagers, the king sends his greeting. The king commands me to inform all eligible bachelors in Badore and from all other villages in Yoruba land that in 6 months, you all should prepare for Princess Omolewa's marriage tournament. The winner will be chosen as the princess' husband. There was a sudden uproar of excitement among the Badore bachelors. Omolewa was sad and disappointed about this news. She turned to her mother. Mother, please help me, cried Omolewa. This isn't what I want. Her mother consoled her as she said, My daughter, I am powerless. Unfortunately, I cannot stop this. Only Eledumare or a miracle can change the destiny of Badore women. I had the exact feelings when I was informed about being chosen as a bride by your father. I cried my eyes out for days, but here I am today. I have accepted it. Omolewa screamed in bewilderment. But why, mommy? It's my life. I should not be forced into a marriage I do not consent to. I have blood flowing through my veins. I deserve to choose my life partner and how I choose to live my life at least. The queen quickly covers Omolewa's mouth with her hand. She said, Ejide, my sunshine, my precious daughter, breathe and please calm down. Have some water. Do not speak too loudly. Your father will be infuriated if he hears of this. Please, my daughter, calm down. Omolewa curled up into a circle and cried for a long period of time until she fell asleep. Suddenly, she found herself wandering in the dream world and came across a wise man. The wise man said to her, Child, have you forgotten the mission? Have you forgotten the reason you were sent to Badore and precisely to the palace? This is not the time for you to cry. It is a time for you to act. Confused and frightened, Omolewa backed away. Come closer, said the wise man, and he whispered into her ear. Omolewa woke up the next morning and dashed out of the palace. She ran to her friend's house, Folake, who lives in a hut near the forest. Folake's mother is one of the village widows. Folake looked worried and asked, Omolewa, what happened to you? Are you hurt? Omolewa replied, No, not at all. I have never been better. Now sit with me and we need to talk. After having a long conversation with Folake, Folake went into the village and visited the huts one after the other while avoiding creating unnecessary attention. Around midnight, the village was as quiet as a mouse. Everyone was fast asleep. Young girls and teenagers were sneaking out of their huts covered in hoods, made their ways towards the forest. Somewhere inside the forest was a fire pit and there sits Omolewa. After everyone was seated, Omolewa began to address them. My sisters, thank you for honoring my call. I called you here today to discuss an issue that has been affecting all the women in Badore for decades. It is time we bring change and honor back to the Badore women and the next generation. How many of you is content with the situation of things in our village? How many of you wish to continue to live a life of misery and idleness? They all raised their hands. It is not going to be an easy task to change this archaic patriarch mindset of our village men, but I promise you, I will die trying. The glint of hope was visible in their eyes, and they all nod in agreement. Omolewa continued, "This isn't my fight alone. We need to put our heads together and figure out ways to stop this injustice. The floor is open. If you have anything to share, please do." They all stood up one after the other and shared their thoughts, fears, and ideas. After a while, they all departed and went back to their homes, Omolewa included. As time goes on, the females took turns to visit the forest and started building high fences and huts in an hidden part of the forest. Some of the girls would bring food items, cooking utensils, and sleeping mats. They worked day and night in shift mode. While the building was going on, Omolewa was teaching the sharpest among them combat moves. 2 weeks prior to Omolewa's wedding, she left the palace unnoticed, but this time she didn't return. Suddenly, you could hear loud voices and heavy footsteps coming towards the palace. The guards rushed out to stop them. One of the guards asked, "What happened?" The wine tapper said, "Our daughters are missing. We think they have been kidnapped." The guards let them into the palace and the king addressed them. "What is this I'm hearing, that our daughters have been kidnapped? By who? Who dare challenge the Badore army?" The villagers could not give a name. Prince Badore rushed in and asked, "My lord, the princesses are also missing from the courts. The queens are worried and I have sent guards to search for them." "How could this have happened, Bade? What were your soldiers doing? You mean no one suspects or saw anything strange? Answer me." Prince Bade shivered and prostrated. "I am sorry, father. Keep your apologies. Take 2,000 men with you and go fetch every girl back to this village, or do not bother returning." Prince Bade raced out of the palace. The king resumed addressing the villagers. He said, "My people, I am sorry that this happened to you. I know how you feel because I am a father too. Badore failed you. I failed to protect our children, but trust my word, we will get them back, even if it means I have to go to war myself." The villagers felt a sense of relief and went back to their huts one after the other. 3 days went by. Neither Prince Bade nor the girls are yet to be seen. The king became very weary. Soon after, the female hidden spots in the forest were discovered by the prince and his army. They tried to force their way through, but were stopped. Omolewa walked over to where the army and Prince Bade were stationed. Behind them were 6 other females dressed in war attire. Omolewa announced, "My brother, please go back to the palace. We are not moving an inch until father gets here." The prince looked lost and replied, "But what's the purpose of all this? Whose idea was it? You need to come with me this instant or father will..." "Father will what?" interrupted Omolewa. "Father will do nothing until he hears us out and do the needful. Go back now or we will be forced to protect ourselves against you. I am respectfully asking." Prince Bade signaled and the army left with him. Words had spread through the village about the young females residing in the forest. Few of the mothers hastily fled to the forest in search of their daughters, but they did not return home. More women left for the forest as well, but they did not return from the forest. Confusion and uproar in the air. The king, having learnt about the situation, left for the forest with the villagers. He was approached by Omolewa and her mates. Omolewa greeted the king and the villagers. She said, "My father, my elders, my king, I greet you all. On behalf of every female in Badore, I have this message for you. We are not going back to the village until you cancel the unfair treatment of women. We are not some figurines. We have dreams, hopes, aspirations, and needs too. We cannot continue to stay at home and not work after we get married. We can be married and still carry on with our everyday activities. Our mothers are unhappy too. We deserve better." The king looked flabbergasted and could not utter a word for some minutes. Finally, he recovered and said, "I hear you, my children, but first, let's all go back to the village and we can discuss this in a civilized manner." All the females screamed a loud "no" in unification. The deliberation went on for hours. Finally, the king caved in and he left with the village men. The remaining women that came with them refused to go back to the village. The first queen, Queen Folake, said, "My lord, we stand with our daughters and we will be staying with them." "Nothing amazes me anymore," uttered the king. The next day, the town crier announced that Princess Omolewa's tournament has been cancelled. A week went by. All the men in the village advanced to the palace once again. The cocoyam farmer started, "My king, I don't know how long I can continue to live like this. The house is very dirty. I am hungry. I cannot go on like this. I need my wife and my daughters back immediately. My house feels empty. All my clothes need cleaning. I do not know how to do my laundry. I need my family back," lamented the hunter. The Ashoke seller said in agony, "I almost burnt down my house while I was trying to cook. Now I have burnt all over my hands. My king, please do something about our situation." The king summoned the chief priest and the village 3 wise men. He announced, "What would you suggest we do? Enlighten me." The first wise man spoke. "No society can blossom or succeed without its women. Women's contribution is enormous and we kind of lost sight of that. Look what has happened in the last few days since we men have been on our own. We have left the real hard work for the women, the cooking, the cleaning, the nurturing. We have been in their situation now and we can hardly survive on our own. My king," he continued, "allow them to work after they are married." The second wise man interjected, "I agree with you. My king, perhaps they can work for a period of time during the day. This will give them a sense of purpose. That will have an impact in their everyday life." The king nods in agreement. He said, "I see where you are going with this. Proceed." The chief priest stated, "My king, remember the oracle's warning few months back. This is it. Tread carefully. Avoid the anger of the gods." The king thanked them and went into his court. He could not sleep throughout the night. The next morning, he left the palace. He was accompanied by the guards and the village men to the forest. He summoned the females to come out. The king stated, "My daughters, our wives, our future, we hear you. I see you all. We have treated you all unjustly. I apologize. We need you. We cannot survive without our women. Please return home. From today henceforth," announced the king, "you will be able to work after you are married. You will also have the freedom to choose who you love. No one will decide that for you. Apologize once again that it took us this long to realize your worth. Please come back home." Omolewa stepped forward and conveyed that the chief priest should involve the gods in the agreement and serve as witness to punish whoever tries to backpedal in later time. The chief priest agreed and it was official. The Badore women got their voices and lives back. They all cheered loudly and danced happily. The women and their daughters returned home one after the other until finally Omolewa and the last 4 females left for their homes. You could feel the change in the air. 6 months went by. Badore has never blossomed. The women were seen chatting happily in their various streets. Everyone was happy. 4 years later, Omolewa fell in love with Olawale, the village drummer. They got married and lived happily ever after. The moral of this story is that women are the backbone of every society. Women are nurturers, yes, but they are the real architects that shapes the world. A woman can be a mother, a wife, a sister, and still be able to fulfill her goals in life. It is wrong to underestimate the power and the strength of a woman. The end. Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode. Bye.